Yeah, I think we are a couple of minutes beyond time, so we can start now.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So on behalf of Bombay Management Association, it's my distinct pleasure to welcome all of you to today's very special event. What we are doing today is we are having an entire conclave on data analytics on the BMA platform. And what we are going to learn today is various aspects of data analytics. We have a galaxy of speakers, and without standing between you and the knowledge regarding data analytics, I want to acknowledge Zoho, who's our partner today, and go on and introduce our very first speaker, who's a very eminent personality, and it is my distinct pleasure to introduce him. Professor Chandrasekhar is going to speak to us first. So Professor Chandrasekhar is a senior professor and director of business analytics at IFIM Business School, Bangalore since 2013. About 40 years of experience across corporate research and academics, but it is my difficult task to summarize that. He has worked at reputed organizations like TIFR, ISRO, the IIM's Ford School of Management. He served as a director of the Ford School of Management for about 2 years and also worked at IIM Lucknow for about 10 years as professor. He holds his bachelor's in electrical engineering, his master's in computer science, and his doctorate from the University of Georgia on quantitative and information systems. He's published widely. He's worked extensively in the areas of machine learning, NLP, and so on. He's a fellow of the Institution of Electronics and Telecommunications Engineers and several other bodies. And as a result of these, he has been a consultant to various industries and a regular speaker to quite a few reputed institutes like IITM, IIMs, IIFT, and so on and so forth. He's also the founder director of a startup company incubated at IIT Kanpur for developing cutting-edge solutions in the area of big data analytics and risk management. So in summary, we are quite fortunate today to have Professor Chandrasekhar here. And I'm going to invite him right away to come in and speak to us and tell us about data analytics. Professor, if you could share your presentation, and I would hand it over to you.
Okay.
Eager to you. Thank you.
Able to see? All of you are able to see?
Yes.
You could take it onto full screen if
yes.
Yes, please.
I thank Shripad for the excellent introduction he has done. I don't know how much justice I can do for this. Probably all the delegates' expectation also must have gone up. I will try my best to keep it up. As he mentioned, it is conclave on data analytics. There are other speakers who will speak about data analytics. Broadly, there are three types of data analytics. One is what we call the descriptive data analytics. Other one is predictive. The third one is the prescriptive. These are the three categories in which we will group data analytics. Whatever application you develop, it has to fall into one of these three categories. The starting point is descriptive, where we will collect the data, clean the data, visualize the data, make some hypothesis, draw some conclusions from that. That is the basic level. I think we can call it the MIS itself. Long back, what we used to call MIS falls into the descriptive analytics. We don't do much of prediction there. So we will view the data. Human himself will interpret. He will try to predict. There are not many models or anything sitting there. So he himself will draw the conclusion. Some basic assumptions will be made. This is where most are familiar. That is the entry level. Slowly, as and when this data got democratized, the computing power came down. And with all this digitization, we collected huge amount of data. Obviously, there are some things which are not that visible just for the human eye, or that basic analysis. So we developed first level of models. Some predictions we thought, all of us know, whoever is in business, we used to do some sales forecast, and then the GDP forecast, economic forecast, all these things. Some amount of models were used. But what it used to happen was, at that stage, it required some domain expert, either has a statistical knowledge or a mathematics background knowledge, to interpret those models. That's where the trouble was. What it used to happen was, even if you do a simple prediction, all of us know what is called a regression. We read the past data and somehow try to fit some type of a line and then predict what will happen in the next year or next 6 months or next 4 months. But the way the statistical packages used to give output, that was not very palatable to business community. It will put something called TR square P square, and our general manager will say, sir, what is this TR square P square? We don't understand what is this. What I want is, if I reduce the price of the product by 20%, what will happen to the sales? We are not interested in this P square, T square. We don't understand also. So somehow what we did was, at the next level, we tried to put that interpretation capability to the machine itself. So that we don't want to depend too much on these statistics or mathematics experts who are required to do the interpretation. That is where your next level of analytics came. These are what are called the predictive analytics. Though we are not able to remove 100%, but what is happening is, yes, we are able to somewhere give about 60 to 70% of the interpretation of the capability to the machine itself. And this visualization got terribly improved. Otherwise, it was all originally tables and those type of things. Then later on, we got into heat map. There are so many visualization techniques, 3D, all these came into picture, so that it became more easy for the businessman to understand. And slowly we introduced what is called the sensitivity analysis. We can do what is called what if. These are all your second level of your analytics. Where AI comes into picture is where the machine itself can interpret. What happens is, the expert will not say what model to give, what to give. You simply dump the data to the machine, and the machine itself will identify what type of model it is, and to some extent it will try to interpret the result also. That is where we are today. Then the next step is what is called the prescriptive analytics. That is about your optimization and other things. Very few companies have reached that stage. So these are the three paths, or these are the three categories of your business analytics itself. So over a period of time, what has happened is, we have collected huge amount of data, and somehow the domain experts which were earlier required to interpret this data has gone to the machine itself. That's why we have brought the word machine learning. And still, whatever that intelligence we have by the machine is far, far lesser than what a human person can do. That's why we have added the word artificial. You just watch carefully. We never put the intelligence. We cleverly put artificial. That clearly shows that it is not equivalent to the human intelligence, and we are very much far away from this. That's where the things are. Today, I present one application in the business domain, where we try to predict the what we call the enterprise value of the companies. Earlier, we had some basic models, but what happened was, they were not able to capture the value with good accuracy. Somewhere around 25 to 30% error it used to come. Otherwise, the accuracy used to vary between some 60 to 80. So we thought whether using some our artificial intelligence techniques and deep learning, whether we will be able to increase that. Deep learning, there is a word called deep learning, which is very frequently used. There is nothing to worry about deep learning. It is learning only. What is happening is, when there are some complex relations in the data, it becomes little difficult for the simple models to somehow correlate and extract information from that. They are called deep learning. And one problem with deep learning is it requires some huge amount of data. You will not be able to do deep learning with some 20 data points, 30, 50 like that. It is ideally suited when you have hundreds of data points. Particularly in retail, like your shopper stop, then Flipkart, Amazon, where they collect huge amount of data, and our own stock market data, etc., etc. That is where deep learning comes. We took a risk and tried to apply the deep learning to a subset also. Let us see whether we will be able to get some more information. That is what it is. I don't have that much large volume of data. Somehow I don't know, the screen is not moving. Anyway, it does not matter. I can speak extempo, it doesn't matter for me. I don't need PPTs anyway. So what we are trying...
Sir, please come out of it.
Come.
And once again try, maybe it will work.
Let me see. It is coming now.
Yes, please.
It has come now?
Yes.
Okay. This enterprise value is a very important parameter for the valuation of a company. So where it comes is there are two components that normally we use. One is called the market capitalization. The other one is the enterprise value. Market capitalization takes only the equity part of the worth of the company. It simply multiplies the number of shares by the price of the share. But in this process, what happened is it doesn't give the true value of the company, because it does not take your loan and whatever cash you have in hand, it does not take into account. So it does not truly reflect the true value of the company. That is why normally for valuation purposes, we use the enterprise value. We do not use the market cap. So there are some advantages. So this is what I have put in these slides. So what happens is, for a buyer, it gives the highest price one should pay. For a seller, at least, it gives you the minimum price. So a company with high debt, it takes the cash and the debt component also into account. So the definition of market cap is, the definition of enterprise value is your market cap plus the debt minus the cash in hand. Because what happens is, when you acquire the company, anyway, that cash comes to you and you will use the cash to pay off the debt. That is why we deduct the cash there. And it will also be useful to identify undervalued and overvalued companies. Which are the companies which are overvalued and which are the companies which are undervalued. What will happen is, by this identification, this will go as an input to the portfolio manager to do the asset allocation. All of we have a lot of mutual funds, pension funds, investment banking, even insurance companies, a bank. They collect premium from you, and somewhere you will have to invest. So obviously they will have to give the returns, and at the same time take care of their claims also. So virtually you take anyone, eventually it becomes a bank only. A bank means it can be a financial institution, it becomes. So somehow, if we can identify these overvalued and undervalued companies, we will be able to make an investment there, so that growth will be much higher than if you would have invested already in an overvalued company. Maybe after 1 year it may come down. That is the purpose of this work. It is basically used in asset allocation. Then what happens is, the portfolio manager will identify that what part of the allocation we should put. Suppose if you take IT companies, it may say some Infosys and HCL are overvalued, whereas your Mindtree, then Happy Mind, and then maybe Sonata, it may be undervalued. That is the input this gives. Then the portfolio manager will, okay, if he has some 2 crores to invest or 10 crores to invest, what should be the breakup? How much should go into Infosys? How much should go into, even though they are overvalued, we totally don't do any investment. Because some risk is always there. Normally it is not done. We will decrease the asset allocation. We will not increase. Then what happens is, we will use that optimization to find out what percentage of that total investment should go into HCL, it should go into Mindtree, it should go into Infosys, it should go into Wipro. That is your prescriptive analytics part. That's what I mentioned in my earlier remark. That's where, so what I am showing is somewhere comes in the predictive part of the analytics. This will become an input to the prescriptive part. That prescriptive part I am not dealing it today. That becomes another session probably. Somewhere at some other point in time we can deal that one. This I have already covered. Whatever I have covered, I will just skip it. What we did was, we took about some 15 to 20 parameters from the balance sheet of the companies. We used that Prof database from which we took the 15 to 20 parameters. Then what we did was, we used two methods to reduce the number of parameters, because I have only 60 quarters balance sheet. That means my data set is only 60. It is not 600. That means we went back 15 years back in time. So 15 into 4 is 60. So in that 60 quarterly balance sheet, last 1.5 years, I kept it as a validation balance sheet. So that 6 points are also gone. So I am left with 60 minus 6. That is roughly 54. So using these 54 data points, with 15 to 20 variables, it is impossible to build a model. See, what happens is, virtually your variables are more. Our basic statistics says minimum you need 10 to 15 points to build a model, to build a sturdy model. So 15 into 10 will become 150, whereas I have only 55 or 56. So now one method we should do is, somehow can we reduce this number of dimensions? There are two methods of reducing. One is using that AI techniques, that is called the auto encoder. The second one is our classical factor analysis. We used both. So what happened was, after using both, there is a common set of these variables which both the models identified. That is what we took. And these are our earlier ways of doing the company valuation. We does not use much of our previous data or much of our deep learning. There the accuracy of the prediction used to be between 60 to 75. That's what we try to improve. So these 5, what are these 5 parameters? Is your sales, then profit before interest, depreciation and tax, interest expenses, then the price to earning growth. They are the 4 that it identifies. So from that 15 dimension, we are taking only these 4 parameters to do the deep learning. So if you take all the 15, your deep learning will be much less. It will become worse. It will not become good. This is something like this. If you have a small project, if you have 4 or 5 people, it works beautifully. If you put 15 people on this small project, it will not improve, it will become worse. So that is what we call the curse of dimensionality. That's why we reduced it to 4 or 5 parameters. They are the thing. Then we used this, what we call the artificial. Somewhere some noise is coming. Somebody has put on some.
Sir, you are on mute. Please unmute yourself.
Sir, you have to unmute yourself, sir.
Yes. So shall I continue?
Yes, please.
Please continue.
Okay. Then what we did was, this is the classic deep learning network, Keras by TensorFlow, that has been developed by Google. Earlier, Google was only using it. Now it has become an open source, so that anybody can use it. So what we did was, these 4 variables are the input to this Keras model, what I told. The output is your enterprise value. And what we did was, we created some lagged series. What happens is, the enterprise value of this quarter not only depends on the previous like that. We may have to go back 4 quarters in time or 5 quarters in time. We have a classic method called the autocorrelation. Using that autocorrelation function, we will find out how much back we should go it in time, so that those previous people also will have an effect of this. It is something similar to sales. Something like sales of this September obviously depends on your August, June and July. And at the same time, it may depend on last September sales also, what we call the seasonality. These we identified using the auto correlation parameters. That is the input to your Keras network. That's what I have put here. So we trained the model, something about I think it took about 200 iterations to converge. Then what happened was, then we did the prediction. So the prediction accuracy was very good. Your earlier models will give a prediction accuracy of some 60 to 70. Now almost our prediction accuracy is between 85 to 95. 1 year ahead projection. We tried it for 1.5 also. It is also working. So up to 1.5 years we can predict. And now what happens is we will do it on a rolling basis. So as and when the new data comes, you ignore the original data, retrain the model, that will predict it for the next 1.5 years. That's what it is. So we did it for the FMCG companies, IT companies. Most of them are Nifty 30 companies because that's where a lot of your activity take place, your investment take place in most of it. We use the company news also. We extracted sentiment from the news that was used as an additional variable. If I use some companies which are not frequently where investment does not take place, we don't get the news. That is why the first level of work is for the Nifty 30 companies. We are planning to extend it to Nifty 100 also. That is the future work we have. I will finally show the result here. So on some FMCG, we did some work. You see, overvalued actual. I think the previous one I will tell you how we do. How we do? We project the sales. We project the PBDIT. We project the PE value for the next 1 year. We take the ratio. We take the projected ratio of EV to sales and then EV to PBDIT. Then let us say in FMCG you have 10 companies. Your sample set is 10. We get the median value of these ratios. You get 10 values for EV by sales and then 10 values for EV by PBDIT. Then what we do is we take the median. Then whichever company is above the median value of these ratios, they are overvalued. And whichever is below the median value, it is undervalued. That is how we put a cutoff in that. This cutoff, this median is a simple cutoff. We are trying to predict the cutoff itself using our deep learning. That part has not been done so far, but still the results are good. See, actual overvalued are Britannia, Dabur, Godrej Consumer Products and HUL. That overvalued predicted also is this. So only one company just misplaced. So only one it has not classified correctly. Otherwise, the other group between the predicted and the actual is very good. It is only one. It has done an error. And I think that is where I will stop so that if there are any questions, I will be very happy to answer. And at the same time, I thank our Bombay Management Association, Professor Kavita and the President for giving me an opportunity with whatever little knowledge I have to share. In near future, we are applying for the patent also because we gave it to the patent attorney. And then he said, no, sir, first time deep learning work and all, nobody has done. It is very good to file a patent on this. So that is the next step we are doing and extend it to Nifty 100 companies. That is where this work is in the next 4 to 6 months is what has been planned.
Thank you, Professor Chandrasekhar. Very interesting. I think all of us were finding it very interesting that you took us through an actual example rather than more theory, because I think students as well as professionals have already seen what is the theory for data analytics and we are all struggling to apply it at our workplaces. So thank you very much for a very specific example. If anybody has any questions for Professor Chandrasekhar, you can unmute yourself and speak. Please just let us know. Meanwhile, Professor, I have one question for you, even as the audience is thinking about questions.
Sure.
Which is that what do you think we can do to increase the comfort that business professionals have with data analytics? Because you really rightly mentioned at the start, right, that people are not interested in the details; they want the outcomes. So, what has been your experience when dealing with both the sides of the equation, the academics as well as that?
Correct. There are two sides for this. What is happening is that's what I mentioned. The way they expect to project the output is somehow we are not able to project. That is where the gap is coming. So the problem for that is, I don't know, how do I tell it? Our present day youngsters, they say, no, sir, this is my experience. Why should I learn that part, that part? So this is where the drama goes. What should happen is, we need more than one skill, particularly what we call that storytelling skill. So somehow if this output, see, I could have shown you again that R square, how many neurons I have put in first layer, how many neurons I put in second layer, what is the activation function, how did I minimize that mean square error. If you start projecting those things, they will get, somehow they feel that they get lost virtually. What is the final outcome? And the single question they ask is, where is my ROI? As long as you can justify this ROI, I think they will jump and buy. I think the single agenda for all of us to somehow take this AI and predictive analytics at a faster level is, for the top management, the way we should present this output is a little bit different from the way even today the tools gives. So that requires some storytelling. That is one part, and it requires a domain knowledge also to convert this output to a story. The second part is, we do not have that much strong models even today to predict the ROI from these type of tools, because most of them are knowledge-based tools. It is not your inventory where you have that work in progress, a good sitting in the warehouse, you can put a value. Some valuation models are there. But my single thing is, if you can somehow show that, yes, we have worked on the real life data. It is not some simulated data or something wherein we are showing the result. That is the first part. The second part is, yes, somewhere if we can show them that there is a value sitting and somehow either it will increase the operational efficiency of that organization or increase the return on investment, whatever it is, I think then they will jump. Absolutely. There is no issue at all. I just gave this presentation to one or two investment banker. They are telling, yes, what do you want like that? What is the money you want? They are asking me. We want it like that.
Thank you so much, Professor. We are run right out of time. Professor Lagate, I think it's appropriate we are on time to move on, unless you would like to ask any question or make a comment.
I would like to thank Professor Chandrasekhar for this very applied aspect, because in the classes of management, we talk about this, but actual application of it, as he has explained, to evaluation of the companies, I think all the finance students and otherwise investors will also be interested. So thank you very much for this interesting paper, sir. We would like to see the patent for this work of yours, and we will be happy to know about the progress that you do in this particular area.
Sure.
And thank you so much for accepting our invitation. Venkatesh Iyengar, who is our life member of BMA, has helped us in inviting you. So I mentioned him here, and we would definitely like to have you once again as you progress in your research some other time also. Thank you so much.
Sure. Any other area also, like computer vision and other things, where I applied extensively, where the application in retail in a simplified manner without writing single line of equation, I can explain.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I never wrote any equation here also.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you all very much. I will be around. I will also be around.
Thank you. So that brings us to our second speaker. With thanks once again to Professor Chandrasekhar. Our second speaker for today is somebody who is going to give us a very different look at data analytics, because she comes from a very different approach. But on a lighter note, I'm noticing that Professor has analyzed several companies, including Hindustan Lever. So Umaji may have something to say about that, because she has worked for Hindustan Unilever in the past. But that's on a lighter note. Let me more formally introduce her to you before I request her to come up. So Uma Venkatraman is the CEO and co-founder of Excite Technologies, if I get you right, private limited,
but it's
Excite
okay.
Technologies, private limited. She's one of the early women entrepreneurs in India in the technology product space. She co-founded Excite Technologies along with her colleague Savita, creating an indigenous product IP for the global market. And those of us who are in that area know how rare that has been till recently in India. The dream started in 2000. It's been 18 years of determination, endurance. She's shared a lot about that. And in terms of her background, she graduated from Bse in 1988. Her MBA is from Jamnal Bajaj, so that makes you alumnus of Jamnal Bajaj, same as me. So hello on that basis. But she also grounded her skills in Hindustan Lever, Standard Chartered Bank, ICICI. During the first dot-com boom, she looked at entrepreneurship, and that is how the company was born. Today, they have a large number of clients, NSDL, the largest banks, insurance companies in India, and they are creating products for which their guiding principle has been built to last. So with about 115 plus marquee clients across BFSI, retail, telecom, I'm quite sure that Ms. Uma Venkatraman is going to have quite a unique vantage point on telling us all about her view on data analytics, specifically the real life application of data analytics for decision making is what she's going to speak about. We'll listen to her for about 25 minutes, and let's leave about a few minutes for some questions from the audience as well at the end of it. Thank you very much once again for making it here, and over to you, your audience. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Ranade, for this wonderful introduction, and thanks to Dr. Kavita Lagadi for inviting me here. I think it's a great honor because, like you said, we are from the same alumnus, and I'm really honored to be chosen to present here. So let me thank you all for this. I was a little worried because I saw Professor Chandrasekhar presenting before me. I tried to call him up yesterday to know what he was presenting, because I come from the extreme other end. You see, though I have, been working with professors and all, I'm not coming from a statistical background. I'm more the storytelling types, as he says. So I'm going to tell a few stories maybe, but at the same time, I would like to tell that. At one end is everybody gets so excited about what you said, prescriptive, predictive, and some people only talk about R language and Python and so on, only tool sets. In all this, I feel the real business need is also needed to be understood, because finally you will have to, like you rightly said, what is the business problem we are trying to solve? What is the way in which we are applying all those TR square and all those formulas, even if it is abstracted? So the statistics side has to meet the risk side, and finally the business understanding of the issue has to be there. And it is not a one-off process. You need to constantly monitor it so that you know whether it's working or not. But having said that, I would like to tell you what our company does. I have a presentation. I'll just keep a focus on the time because I have put more than 2 case studies there. Share screen. Yes. So here it is. Hopefully I'll not repeat anything of what he said, because it's more about how our company is helping clients in our area, which is a lot to do with the tech side of data more than anything. So here we are. So the human being itself is like that, right? When he talked about prescriptive, predictive and all, we are all storing lots of data. It's not as reports. Now we will remember who said what to whom, when, how many times. We make our decisions based on that. We hope for the future. We make sure we don't have pitfalls in the future. We use our brain to do all this. So we are trying to have machines replicate this today. So this is what we will do. Now, just simple, all of us know this, but you know how easily we use this. Now, when he says ROI, you don't have to explain ROI for all this. So this chartered accountant goes for a jog, he sees Fitbit, there is some health related statistics which is fed to the insurance company. Then you see the newspaper, you say, oh my God, there is a yellow orange alert today in the paper. The Met department has forecast. I use the word forecast here. Then there is going on the Uber, the route automatically changes because Google is advising. Nowadays, the taxi drivers don't use their brain. They just see Google and they follow. Even if it is showing the wrong route, they will follow that route. But more often than not, Google is learning every day. Then he goes to the office, he presents the last year's balance sheet. If you notice, everything is real time. Suddenly he's presenting the last year's balance sheet to his board, which is quite outdated, and there is some prognostication for the future. They're going to do X and Y. So a lot of numbers here. So when he said descriptive, all this is descriptive only, the reports on the right side. There is a descriptive in this Fitbit health report, numbers, statistics. It's not telling how he should solve his problem of reducing his weight or running more miles. It's just a numerical expression. The Med department is forecasting, so it's a bit predictive. Similarly, there's a marketing manager. Here, there's just one concept I will tell you. We'll come to what we do. There's a sales forecast the marketing director is giving for the next year, and they predicts denim wear is going to be they're going to sell denim wear. And then he in the afternoon checks on LinkedIn, the new, what are the impressions and reactions to something they have posted. Then suddenly we find in COVID time, everybody is searching in Google about face masks. In fact, face mask sales were the highest actually. So they change the strategy. So instead of forecast, there's a method called nowcasting in statistics, which means what trends are going on in search. You change your forecast as per what is happening now, because the sales forecast is anyway, 5-6 months old by the time you're presenting. So nowcast and forecast are two different techniques. And finally, you have a teenager again. She's looking at traditional statistics. There is, when you look at your 12th standard marks, you see, there are your marks and your percentile. What is percentile? These are all basic statistical concepts. And then her father is busy checking the Bse Index, while on one side he's also checking the cutoff scores of colleges. And in the meantime, the mother is checking the SBI educational loan. There's a chat box asking what kind of loan they want. So basically here the chatbot is more in the future trying to, mimic a human person responding. Whereas these are all descriptive reports on the left side, percentiles and marks and those kinds of things. Then there is some Bse Index Trends, which is more in the terms of prediction of the stock market, how it is going to go. So we see all kinds in this page. So this is how easily we are assimilating. Only thing is, if you are talking formulas, it gets a little complex. These are many more. If you look at your computer, you'll find this all the time, how your computer is performing. On the top left, you have vaccination statistics and so on. Then you have visual dimensions, heat maps and so on. So prescriptive is the start point. And even before prescriptive, our company works on data. So data preparation and data quality and data, it needs to be good. So we have some case study on that as well. So the hype is all because people are moving from the first 3 layers into the next 2. We will not get into the last 2. So I think almost 60-70% of the companies are still operating on Excel sheets. They don't even do the first 2. So it's very important that we become friendly with numbers and we become friendly with the reports, which is happening, right? So like this is a simple example description. How many patients went to the hospital last week? Diagnose, why did they go? Predictive is which patients will go to the hospital next week. Prescriptive is you want to prevent those people going to the hospital. So what kind of, you want to sanitize, you want to have health checkups. Those are all prescriptive analytics. So maybe health checkups prevent people from going to the hospital more frequently. So coming back to IX side, we are in a different area. So I'll talk about. So in banking is a slightly boring subject, but then banking is where all the analytics happens. And there we have 2 things, fraud and risk. And there is one area which is out of the many applications, Excite works on the fraud and risk detection. The other interesting area is e-commerce, which all of us, it brings a smile to our face, delivery logistics. So I'll talk about these 2 areas. So we will talk about relationship discovery analytics, entity analytics, which means all about how people are linked to each other and how this can be a huge source of understanding whether there is a risk involved in dealing with an individual. Who are the other people that person is associated with? Where is this used? When you're applying for loans real time, then you need to identify whether that person has got a bad background, a blacklisted background. The person is indulging in some kind of nefarious activities like terrorist activities. The person has not repaid earlier, or there's somebody in their social circle, somebody in their family circle who has not repaid. And this all these things have to come together in an instant, in few milliseconds. So it involves a lot of text analytics, which I'll take you through. We'll also talk about the third aspect, which is address analytics, which I call this animal called addresses, which we take like for granted what's in an address. We are using mobile phones, so mobile numbers is more important, but it has a lot of potential to tell you a lot about the potential in a marketplace, to feed into locational map analytics, to feed into delivery analytics. So how do we use that, right? So we'll go ahead. So these are the areas in which Excite plays. So now you must understand, though this is very boring and a lot of talk has happened about, the data is very, very bad. So when we are talking of a lot of this data and exotic stuff on statistics and all, the data itself consumes huge amount of time. It is very bad data. There is a data entry issues, there are call center issues, there are online entry issues, and we are talking about text data. We are not talking about non-textual data, right? So when we want to create a 360-degree view, any analytics in a bank or in an insurance company, in a retail outlet, for a hospital to get a unique patient ID requires a single view of a relationship of a customer, right? So, and here, and this is alone the point that will allow you to address these kind of answers. If you ask and go and ask somebody how many customers you serve, how many families you serve, almost 60% of or 70-80% will not be able to answer. They will say, we have added 1 lakh accounts last year, we have grown, our asset has grown by this revenue. Analytics and relationship and customer is all about customers. To get to a customer, you need to marry and map and match all the relationships using whatever information you have, and this is fuzzy matching. This is not simple. This is not about an Aadhaar card matching. We'll have to match differently written, differently spelled, using various kinds of text related nearness algorithms, using various kinds of scoring, using various kinds of clustering to identify these relationships together. Only then can you do these higher order things. Once you have the customers, this customer has got a total relationship of 5 accounts, his family has got 3, his total relationship is X, you can do fantastic work. This is the start point. So we have a product called Deduplex. This we'll take you through this. So here this involves many things. This includes scoring, weightages, this includes grouping and clustering, similarity scores. Then it also includes metaphones. Metaphones are your own method of normalizing and bringing together pronunciations, language pronunciations, and ensuring nearness. Okay, so finally at the right you have this exotic diagram here, network, which people can easily understand, right? So I'll give you a simple use case. So there is a person who applies for a loan, and let us say this is Vijay Hiremat who has applied for a loan. That person himself has got 5 relationships with the bank in various ways. He's not repaid 5 loans. His wife has also got a relationship. He's a director on some company. In that company, there are other directors. Those directors have also got some relationship with this bank. Some of them have not paid. Some of them have paid. The guarantors to this loan also have relationships. So it's a whole network. There is a whole cartel operating there. Unless you see each of these points, you will not be able to get the total prediction whether this person is going to default or not. There are other aspects as well. There are scores associated to where the location of the person is. There are scores as to which company the person belongs to. There are scores on the past performance of that customer, if at all there is something like that. So, and then of course we have many other. We have social media scores. We have negative list scores. All of this comes together to predict. So when we start, how do we start doing this? First of all, let's talk about mundane things like data. So this is not mundane, this is very interesting, but I'm just telling you like this. We have our own metaphone algorithm. So you will find that these names are spelled in different ways. There are phonetic differences, there is spelling differences, there is initials, there is titles, order of the names are different, components are different, there are truncated names, compound names. Now, there are very, you have Python algorithms today to do a lot of the text functions, but they are just, brute force algorithms. It doesn't work well when you need a domain specific knowledge. So you have something like compound names here. Then you have these names we know are same, right? But you can't just cut the names and say Narayan is same, because Raman and Rama are not same. Then you have Ramcharan, which is a compound name. It is actually a split name. Then there are some spell variations, and it varies from country to country. So how do I give a high accuracy of match? So there is a lot of things. The heart of this is multiple phonetic keys. Plus, we have done a lot of what we understand. There is corporate and there is individual. Many of you would wonder this stemming and lemmatization. So stemming means you take part of the word. Lemmatization means multiple. You have this Tata consultancy, Tata consultant, Tata consulting. You can have various variations. You need to identify they are the same. But the heart of us is able to identify accurately families and individuals. A name like Meenakshi can be spelled in so many different ways. Okay. And to be able to do this in something like, you can say 50 crores of records, we are able to match against it in a few seconds, milliseconds. We have to run it through all these algorithms, run it through all these text match, provide a match score with high confidence. And it involves a lot of these functions. I'm just showing you an example down. This is a Ramamurthy case and with multiple addresses. We give a score, we give a clustering, which is used in business to take real-time decisions, whether to issue a credit card, whether to issue an insurance policy, whether to, enroll or onboard a customer. So there is a lot of work here. So I just go to the next case. I don't know how much time we have. So there is a lot of scalability. What we do is we also have an in-memory processing here. So this is from the technology standpoint. See, it's not enough to just have the algorithms. Many times there's a fantastic algorithm. The problem is what? Most of the models ignore the data point because the data itself is so varied. It has so many problems. You can't just run a match algorithm on the basis that data is good. You have to account for a lot of exclusions and inclusions. The mobile numbers will be dummy values. They will be, you have to have the context. So if you start matching everybody, who's called, ABC, or they are called, name is just written as Kumar, and there is just a village address, it will go wrong. So there is a need for context. There's a need to measure the length of those values. There is a need to understand whether it is rural or urban. There is a need to understand patterns, especially when you're involving things like, identifiers like PAN number and so on. Today, the program can handle around 60 plus tokens. Okay, at the back end, we tokenize the data. We create fuzzy values using all these algorithms, which I explained earlier. And finally, the technology skills. That's very, very important because today there is no country like India which has so much volume of data. When you talk of big data, of course, is real-time data with mostly about media and all those things. But even with banks, even today we handle for CKYC, the largest, it's a central repository of the entire banks of the country, running close to 50 crores or, I can talk in 500 million records, which is phenomenal. And daily the number of records coming in is so high. Then you have concurrent users, multiple hits. You need to be able to do this very, very fast. And when you don't have an exact hit, you need high accuracy. It needs to have a lot of technology working for it also. So we have done a lot of work on that area also. How do we reduce the comparisons? How do we use algorithms to reduce? How do we create custom indexes? So all of this requires a lot of work on this. So this is the first part. So it's text analytics and entity analytics at its best. So we have a lot of customers. We have been tested time and time again against international players, and we have done very well. We have also introduced things like, date ranges. We have included property, when property is needs to be matched. It's not just the address. We also introduce other dimensions. So there is a lot of intelligence. There is a lot of statistics happening at the back end as well. So where all does this help? New customers onboarding. So some of the largest credit card companies in the country use our product. Largest NBFCs, like I told you, registries like NSDL, the CKYC project. So accepting, rejecting decisions. If accepted, how much they should give as credit. Then alerting and red flagging fraudulent applications. Then alerts on potential anti-money laundering customers, alerts on non-KYC compliant, and this relies entirely on text. Okay, you'll never get the same name and same address. There are people who are completely different parties staying in the same address and doing fraud at the same time. Before the company can think something is going wrong, they have to catch them. It happens in an instant. So, and to match addresses in India has unstructured address. There's no standards, there's no lookups. Okay, so all of this also we have tried to use alternative data, data which is there. And in future, we will be introducing all of this. Just as an important case study in the Delhi High Court years ago, even to for them to speedily dispose of cases, they had the same parties involved in multiple cases, and so they needed to bunch up the cases to have unique complaints and accused. Again, our logic was used to bunch up so that in a single hearing we could dispose of many cases. I'll go to the second one, the address analytics for logistics. So this is interesting, e-commerce. So the case study here is that if the address is bad, then it returns back to the users, right? So most of the time we don't have a national address database. So we need to componentize the address so to understand whether the components are present. And then we need to have various kinds of logic to again standardize it, to have, because addresses are coming in hordes, they're coming across the country. But componentization is a very key part of this. And there, of course, we used hidden Markov models. I'll explain about this. The training model to parse addresses. So this is a key important point. Apart from the other factors, like we need to understand what are similar spellings. You need to understand context. If I write Mumbai-Pune road, the city is not Pune or not Mumbai. What is the context? If I write Mumbai hospital, it is not city Mumbai. So we have a score for identifying each component of the address. We correct the postal codes, we correct the pin codes, and then weighted scores are given to rural and urban. And this score is used by the e-commerce company to decide real time whether they can send it for shipment or they need to call back the customer and ask for better data. This saves them enormous money on courier cost, enormous pain, higher satisfaction, reduced costs. So in the parsing, there is, hidden Markov models are basically where you use it's a collaborative effort with IIT Mumbai, where you actually train the model at a city level and parse it, because to know which is the house component, which is the road component, which is the area component, and automatically then try to use that training model to segment it. Segment real addresses which come in large quantities, and then we can identify whether each address component is available. We have weighted importance for various attributes, like if you want to deliver, the house city pin is very important. So this helps in large scale parsing. This actually doesn't work so well because there is too much variation in India. So we have bolstered that with our own deterministic methods as well. But this is a very important application of what you call as a Markov model, which is again used in what you call as neural networks and so on. This is very early. We did this almost 10 years back. So I thought this is interesting. Now, the next one is, I will talk about locational analytics, the last one. So locational analytics is interesting. All of you use Uber and so on. So some practical applications I will discuss. So you can market by geography, you can have penetration, potential measurement, service outlet. So here's an interesting case study where we have the first case, which is entity resolution combined with location. Dropbox locations, the telecom company needed to know where to locate because your bills were coming late. And they were not having Dropbox, check Dropbox in proximity to the customer. And so what we did is, first their customers were identified uniquely, the families, the households, the corporates. Then we plotted these on maps. We actually geocoded them. That's a challenge by itself, where we have our own algorithms. Then we did a distance matrix between the Dropbox and between the customers, where they didn't have Dropboxes but more customers, where they had no customers but Dropboxes. And this is how it was done. So this is for both Pune and Bangalore, and this effectively improved their collection by a lot. We also worked on the data cleansing, where we derived the language, gender. They could use it in their call center for receiving calls and better customer relationships. So the other kind of things on maps, of course, we know, but this is a mapping which you have seen. But essentially, the data has to be good, and we're going to come to the geocoding problem as well. The second is locality-wise potential index. So each locality has a particular index. There is no index in the country for locations. So we can weight various values in each locality, connect it to the banks, ATMs in that locality, and measure the potential, the socio-economic factor, the propensity to spend, and the educational capacity of each locality can be used in the factor analysis to derive the propensity to spend. So this is the second case study. So these are all available through census. Other than that, you can use the data available on the internet. And we have done it for the top 2-3 cities for a couple of clients. We are yet to find main takers because a lot of people are still struggling with basic analytics. So this we have covered. I will just go through that. And the last is geocoding. I must talk about data and geocoding because data is not easily geocoded in the country. You may have Google, but the data is very bad. And most of our addresses and names don't get geocoded at the unit level. So what at Excite we do is we actually do that componentization, and we try to send this to Google in various ways because Google's results itself are wrong. This is a small demo. You send this address, it will return it as geometric center. And if you look at the address actually associated with this lat long in Google, it has this address, which is the same as the original. It should be saying rooftop. In another case, it still gives geometric center, but the address associated on Google is something different. It's wrong. So what we do is we have immensely added to this accuracy using our own matching and our own componentization, making sure that companies can get better geocode. This is working at the bottom of the pyramid chain. The last point I would like to leave you with is data quality. I kept this last because data is the foundation of everything. If you don't have good data, there is no point. We at Excite have worked a lot on analytics. When everybody talks about accuracy, validity, reliability, basically whatever data we are talking about should be available and it should be correct. Otherwise, your modeling and everything will go wrong. Usually models in the lab work well. In reality, they don't work well. So for a credit bureau, they wanted to know how the data quality received by the banks affects their output. So we had done a factor analysis of measuring all the variables of the data quality so that they could give a better decision on the matching. So the data quality of the input based on demographics, the geographic, transactional data, each one of them had 10 attributes which we scored. And this was actually presented as well at the IMA Analytics conference. And this allowed them to actually deal with different clients differently. And they could plot this on a map. I think I'll run out of time. So they plotted on which is bad, which is not bad, and then they had different incentive factors. So data quality is an important key to everything. So finally, I'm saying you should make the data related to outcomes. Already Professor Chandrasekhar has talked about it, the ROI and so on. So I'm ending where he also ended. So that's all. I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you. Thank you for a very interesting presentation. And I know you had a lot of information, but you've done your best to share with us as much as you can and two real case studies. So thank you very much. We have one very specific question. I'll go to that right away, which is that we have one question from the audience, which is speaking about chatbots in particular. So Mr. Madan is saying, chatbots cannot always give you the answers. They're still in the nascent stage. And I think many of us will share this frustration of chatbots actually wasting time, many of the time in financial services, consumer services. Where do you think this is going now?
Actually, see, as Professor Chandrasekhar said, and yesterday only I was discussing with my colleague and he must be in the audience. See, that comes under cognitive analytics. So that's why I said we will not go there. So that where there is still a lot of work going on to mimic human intelligence. So we are still at numbers and how numbers can help us predict. So chatbots are frustrating. People still tend to use it because they want to be, seen with the times. It is not. First of all, chatbots can work in a closed domain. So if you're in, I explained the example of educational loan. So if the questions are standard, you can get a reply. Now, if you start going out of context or you ask different ways, there is not enough training models available. I think that requires a lot of training data sets. The human mind operates like that. Cognitive analytics is all about trying to mimic the human mind. I think in the next 10 years, you will see it improving quite a bit. So speech recognition, emotion recognition, even emotive emojis people want to give on the chatbots now. It's still a far way off. So we have to bear that stress a bit. So I think there's not enough training material, and mimicking human beings' neural networks will take a lot more time. But it will pick up. That's the reason.
I think the holy grail is where we'll finally have chatbots.
You will.
Who will understand sarcasm and humor at some point.
Frightening also, no? It's frightening when machines start behaving like humans. So I'm fearing what it will be, but it will happen. It surely will happen.
Professor Lagate, your comments, please.
Yeah, thank you, Uma, for that interesting thing. A topic like address can have so many dimensions, and it can create a very path-breaking product for the logistic companies. I think it is an eye-opener. Also, the bank-related project that you had shown, I think we had always talked about in basic statistical techniques and tools also. Discriminant analysis has been used for identifying the product, but I think it goes much deeper than that. Just creating a line which will be defining the equation about those who will and those who will not. I think a lot of interesting stuff you have given us today, and I know that this 25 minutes is not a justified time that we had given, but nevertheless we could get at least some glimpses of the work that you are doing in data analytics. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm sure sometime in future, we will get you for a longer discussion on the projects that you are doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you. It was an honor, and I'm going to be in touch with all of you, and Professor also Chandrasekhar. If you will allow me, I will be in touch with you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I must I must introduce, as you have noticed in the past as well, introducing some humor. You spoke so much about address analytics. Some years back, a very well-known credit card issuer had sent me by courier a letter which explained to me that they are not able to find my address.
Oh.
So I hope that we are moving on from there with the kind of work that you are doing in cleaning that data. So thank you very much. There is some request from the audience also with regard to sharing your contacts and your LinkedIn ID. And people would like to get in touch with you thereafter.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are now moving on with thanks once again to Maji. We are moving on to our speaker from Zoho, Mr. Sailas. Before that, our BMA Life member, Mr. Venkatesh Iyengar, will quickly share a little bit about, because he has organized for some of these speakers to come in, and we are thankful to him. And he will just come in now, Mr. Venkatesh, if you can come in and just speak for a few minutes regarding what we are expecting to see from Zoho, and just give a little bit of background to Zoho and data analytics, and then we will thereafter request Mr. Sailas to come in and speak about the actual Zoho product range and how many of us who are only hearing about data analytics makes a lot of sense to understand what the product range is and what are the various solutions that we need to be aware of. So, Mr. Venkatesh first. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Shripad. Good evening, all of you. I will just take, in fact, there were very good stalwarts speaking on the area of data science and analytics. I thought I would just try and, make an attempt to make it so easy and summarize whatever they have said in a simple data telling through stories. And that's what something Dr. Chandrasekhar also mentioned, Ms. Uma, Dr. Uma also mentioned about it. So can I share the screen if you give me an opportunity? Yeah. One second.
Madam Uma, you will have to stop sharing.
I don't think I'm sharing. Just a minute. It says new share. I must. Okay, 1 second. Have I? It is gone?
Yeah, it's gone.
Yes, it has gone. Thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah, so okay, so let me, before I introduce, I'll just have 3 slides to talk about. So what do? Is we are a company, we are a part of Zoho Analytics as a company, we are the pure play partners. We actually do all of the things what we spoke in bits and pieces, and we will talk about it as we go ahead. As a company, I wanted to share 2 points. One is our vision to make every company data driven, and we do a little bit of data telling through stories, and that's something what we offer. One of the important things which I wanted to share was this whole analytics framework, and this was something which I thought makes sense for everybody. So as a company or an individual or a professional or a self-employed person or a student, this has been our transition to the entire approach of how analytics has actually, grown or matured. The first part is we used to do a lot of work in the raw data, and which is what Dr. Chandrasekhar explained. And then we moved to clean the data to make some more clarity of what we want to infer or what we want to find out. And then we started doing reports, and that was a time when the era had a lot of reports and a lot of people doing a lot of reports on Excel and all these financial packages. And then obviously these reports became very, very much large and huge volume of structured reports, as they call. They had structure, means name, address, telephone number, very clear structures in place. So they had something known as a data warehouse where they started to accumulate all this data, and they had some people who will remove this data out of it. Obviously, that also became a little less because there was a lot of other types of data. There was text data, there was pictures, images, everything. And then there was a need for having this data in a much proper way, a much easier way, because and I'm sure that as we go ahead, we will understand that. Then there was an era, and which is the era of self-service business intelligence. That means I don't need to really get some help from people or deploy programmers because the cost of it is very high. And I try to create a visualization, and we had certain software as a service providers who was to do this. And that's where we are. And that's where the way the maturity of analytics has grown. And as we go ahead, and that's pretty much what both our very genuine and very senior speakers spoke about, prediction of things basis this visualization, prescribing certain things basis the visualization. And obviously over a period of time, you go into a situation, it's more of a reinforcement kind of a learning where your chatbots becomes like an Alexa is a perfect example. It learns and it talks to you, and the moment you come home, it says that, hey, what do you want to listen to?
Yeah.
So that's pretty much is the process of how the analytic
Which Chandrasekhar Nayak.
Hello, yeah. So that was the first evolving analytics framework which I wanted to share, and then a quick input about what analytics can do for you in each function, or be it a salesperson, be it a marketing person, you are in every domain analytic works. So if you're looking at a marketing and sales profile, you would possibly look at, how you could probably do a better brand analysis, a better pricing strategy, and better competitive intelligence. Where you look at other verticals like, or digital analytics, your web analytics, and what your digital marketing, ROI of digital marketing can be done through marketing and sales analytics. If you are into production or into manufacturing, these are the 4-5 areas where analytics really, really helps you, which is the production efficiency, tracking your assets, production forecasting, all simple, how much I want to produce and how much of optimum of production can take care of my business. And then logistics, Uma ma'am has spoken a lot about it, and I'm just trying to, be a little, summarizing that by a lot of things what they do, inventory diagnostic, location analysis. Today we are talking about locations, how much time it will take to take a good A from from location A to location B, how much I optimize the resource in terms of the route, okay, how much lesser time I can reach the maximum place. I think that's something which logistics, analytics and logistics functions can help. And when you look at this, the whole base of these 3 areas has an underline of your top management, that is your business management and support, which is normally done today. There is a workforce analytics which is done. There are people who understand how's the attrition. There are people who understand, what kind of people quit and all. And that's the base. Then your sustainable analytics, looking at the energy and the conservation and all of these things, where you want to look at how economically things are. Well as the next 3 part is something we used to do, and that is a part of the earlier one, which is just mature to the next level. Financial analytics is moving to a more predictive based financial analytics. Earlier, it was more of diagnostic and descriptive, where the chartered accountants used to only tell you that, this is the way your business is and this is the amount of GST or tax you pay. But now, using that information, they could possibly forecast and say that, what could be your or EBIT if you're going to continue the way you're going to do things now, and what are the possible changes. And similarly in the business process analytics and your conventional sales or program or a portfolio analysis. So looking at these two and on a quick summary of these two slides, and what I want to say is one of the biggest thing is today world is wanting to visualize and look at things, and that is where companies like Zoho really help do things. And I just wanted to set this context to understand what can Zoho do and how better it is to do things for all of you. And I sincerely thank Sailas to give us this opportunity to give you the plot. The reason why I am doing this is because very proud to say that we are a Zoho partner for India, and that to a pure play Zoho partner in India, where we don't do any other Zoho products except the Zoho Analytics. And of course, I just want to complete this quick session by just making a statement by the Padma Shri winner of the founder of Zoho, Mr. Sridhar, and he says that the purpose of Zoho has been to create opportunities for those who don't have them. And I think it's pretty right, and build compelling products for customers to serve geographical locations which has not been served before. I think this was just a quick basis, and I'm sure that most of the people would have understood this. And I would really request, thank you to Shripad to give this opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Kavita, and also thanks, Sailas. And I give back this to Mr. Shripad to introduce Sailas, the product manager of Zoho, who's going to take the next good one session on how Zoho can help all of us. Thank you, Shripad, and thank you, Sailas.
Thank you, Venkatesh. That was wonderful. It's always good to have a summary while the experts have already spoken, as you rightly said, in great detail. I think it was wonderful to have that summary, which was from Deloitte as to how we are progressing. So thank you very much for that. We really appreciate that. We are now going to have Mr. Sailas speak to us about the product suite itself. And just to introduce him, Sailas is a product manager at Zoho Analytics. He also heads the OEM and partners channel business development. And he's been with Zoho for about 9 years and has previous experience before that. So I'm going to invite him to come in and start speaking to us about what it is that a leading company such as Zoho can offer. And what we should all take away. And just a note to the audience is that, the way to look at this would be that at the end of the day, none of us is going to do any advanced analytics homegrown, right? We are going to take it from service providers. It's very important for us to understand what are the services and solutions on offer in the market. And as Indians, I think we are quite proud of Zoho as a global company started in India. And Mr. Sridhar Vempu is now running it from a village, most famously. So we appreciate all that. And over to Sailas. We'll now hear from Sailas about Zoho, about the product suite, about data analytics, and therefore understand what one of the best-in-class companies actually offers when you as a user of data analytics, and this is to the audience I'm saying, when you as a user or as a buyer of data analytics, how should you buy, how should you use, how should you compare? That's an important part of it, right? Just understanding use cases is not enough, and you have to use it. So over to Sailas, and we'll now listen in great detail about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thanks for the great introduction, and it's been my pleasure and honor to be a part of this event. I'm sure this is going to be super helpful for many of the audience or attendees here. So without any further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen and start the session. I know many of the attendees will be waiting for IPL at 7:30 and so on Friday evening. I don't want you to hold and take your time. So can I get a confirmation whether my screen is visible?
It's coming up. It's coming up.
Currently not yet seeing your screen or your video, Sailas. So
okay, let me try to reshare again. Just a minute.
We also cannot see your video.
What was it? Just have it enabled. Are you able to see my screen now?
It says that you have started screen sharing, but we aren't able to see a visual.
Oh.
So stopping and starting might help.
Yeah, let me try that again.
And your own video also is not visible, so you may want to stop and start that as well.
Yes, I did that as well. Still my screen is not visible.
Not yet.
All right, let me refresh it once. Just give me a minute.
Sure. We can see you now.
Is it visible? Is my screen
No,
visible?
it says it has started screen sharing, but we cannot see a visual. We can see your video, however. We
Now
can
it
see
has
the
come.
slide as well.
Now it
Oh,
has
Great.
come.
That's great. All right. All right. So today's topic is how a modern BI and analytics platform is key for insights-driven business. So, I mean, I'm going to start with, few aspects in terms of how the insights-driven business can use the modern BI and analytics platform and so on. So the agenda is going to be quite simple. First, I'm going to start with benefits of insights-driven business, followed by a typical modern BI and analytics platform capabilities, and of course, followed by the product demonstration. Some of the capabilities, I just want to show it in the real world use case. And finally, we will have a Q&A session. All right. So the first point is, of course, what is an insight-driven business? Basically, it's pretty much straightforward, right? An insight-driven business is basically applying the data and analytics at every stage or every opportunity to differentiate a product or service or customer experience or anything, any kind of operations or any kind of output that they deliver to their customers or stakeholders or whomever it is. They use analytics, they apply data and analytics at every opportunity that they have. So that's the business which typically go with the insights-driven model, right? So that's something it's been in the trend for last few years and so on. But of course, what are all the competencies you should have when it comes to the insights-driven business, and of course, how you can leverage the technology in the market. So that's what I'm going to talk about. So a benefits of business, the insights-driven business is something that I'll just go through that. Before that, this is a kind of a market validation. So a typical insights-driven business grows 10x more than the average global economy, and they grow at an average of 30% year over year. So this is a survey-based stats given by the one of the top research firms like Forrester in 2021. So any given business, any given departments, any given stream, it is must to get into this insights-driven or data-driven model, right? So the benefits of insights-driven business is nothing but very simple or very straightforward, that you can quickly answer the complex business questions at any point, wherever you are on the move. You should be able to get answers for the complex business questions. For example, let's say you have a general or a typical sales trend chart, then you prefer to get inside or drill down it more deeper and trying to understand from different lead source or from different marketing source where exactly we are getting these business. Then further, you want to drill down and see from which location we get more traffic. And further, you may drill down to a different dimension, that on which day of a week where you have more sales. So it goes on layer by layer, and that complexity increase. And of course, when it comes to the data model, typically the data model will be super complex. So you should have a system in place that should be in a position to answer your complex business questions instantaneously. And of course, business owners, it might be the executives or it might be leadership members or whoever it is, they prefer to see what's coming and proactively react according to it. So that's where the predictive analytics comes into the game. And of course, when it comes to this, the analytics product that you're going to use, it's supposed to be personalized. It should solve your requirement. And of course, it should give the recommendations and suggestions using the AI and ML capabilities that makes the analysis process ease. And you can get into the insights. The time to insights is supposed to be very quick right from the data, right? And of course, that should be an offering in a large scale, irrespective of your data size or business size, whether it's going to be the small, medium business or the large business, whatsoever, right? And finally, accelerating to meet the real-time business needs, right? So that's where we talk about, right? You don't want to wait for some IT developers to get some insights for you. Whenever you need to make a decision, you can quickly access this and get insights out of it right away. And of course, this comes to the data democratization point as well, where you let your employees or your vendors, your partners, to use the analytics to the maximum capacity, and that will help them to make some actions appropriately. For example, analytics doesn't need to be a product or a solution only for the top level executives. It can be used by a salesperson. It can be used by a common marketing person, or might be a support person in an organization. Whomsoever, they can use the analytics and make the appropriate moves in each and every day-to-day activities, right? So that's supposed to be in the real time to solve the business needs. So these are all the typical needs when it comes to the benefits of having an insights-driven business with the modern BI platform in place, all right? So when it comes to this, the insights-driven business, the 4 competencies I just want to mention here. One is the strategy, and the other one is the people, and the other one is the process, and finally the technology. So we are not going to talk about the strategy, people, process, and so on, because whenever it comes to a business, you have a strategy, you define a goal, you put a strategy in place, you put a plan in place, and so on, and then align your workforce, align your people accordingly to work towards that goal. And you define some process to make it happening in an optimized or effective way. And finally, you'll be using the right technology in place, and that will help you to achieve your goal, right? So here we are going to talk about the technology in specific, and that's where we are going to talk about the modern BI and analytics platform, how it's going to be crucial for insights-driven business, all right? So when it comes to this modern BI and analytics platform, sounds like something like, I mean, it's a common, right? I mean, any product comes up with a term like modern. But when I mentioned the modern BI analytics platform, it really got some capabilities which you can use it, AI and ML-driven capabilities or data storytelling capabilities, data lake and scaling a huge volume of data and so on. So all those capabilities are something which has been in the trend in the market, which can be utilized by any business to attain their goals, right? So this is how this analytics products or applications has been evolved. So if you see 1990s, typically all these reporting tools or reporting products are typically a code-based platforms, right? So it can be used only by the developers or database administrators and so on. So when a business owner needs some insights, so they need to go ahead and contact their DBA, I mean the database administrator, ask them to write a SQL query or something, take a data, and then they give it with some group by or some conditions on top of it, and they give it kind of like a spreadsheet interface. That's how it was. And then it was evolved in 2000 with some visual-based self-service platform, right? So that's where you really had some chart-based visualizations, pivot-based visualizations, and some KPIs or dashboards kind of a stuff comes into the game. But it was typically used by the business users, analysts, and so on. It was interactive to an extent and things like that, but still, it was not super powerful with the capabilities like predictive and so on. So after 2015 and 17 and till now, or let's look forward for the next 10 years from here, everything is going to be driven with the augmented analytics capability. So when I say augmented analytics capability, any features which is used or which is using the underlying technologies like AI and ML is called the augmented analytics capabilities, and it can be used by the citizen data scientist. When I say citizen data scientist, it doesn't need to be a proper data scientist who's been into the designation. It can be anybody in the organization, right? So that they can do any kind of complex analysis on top of the data with the simplified tools. So that's what we call it as a modern BI and analytics platform. So things, the products or the tools which has the capability to give you right from the prescriptive, predictive, descriptive, and everything that you're looking for in terms of the analytics life cycle, then the modern BI analytics should be the right place. I mean, it's the right technology that's supposed to be implemented to drive insight-driven business. All right. So when it comes to this modern BI analytics platform, so far we were more into the topic, right? Let me go granular and tell you how exactly the modern BI analytics platform works. What are all the capabilities? What are all the features that you will see inside a modern BI analytics capabilities, and how that's going to help your business? I'm going to touch base those points in detail. So right from data ingestion to the actionable insights, you should have all the layers covered in terms of the modern BI analytics platform. So these are all the layers, all right? So when it comes to the analytics lifecycle, first you start with breaking the data silos. As a business, typically you have your data resides in different places. It might be the business applications or databases, or it might be some Excel files or cloud storages, ERP systems, legacy softwares that you developed for your company in specific, and so on. So all those data supposed to be connected and accumulated in one place for deep analytics, right? That's the first objective. And the second objective is you cannot expect that the data to be well normalized and clean for analytics purpose. I know some stats says that only 20% of the data that collected by the business are usable. The rest is clumsy, right? So you need to go ahead and prepare your data and manage your data, which is more into like providing access to the different users with different permissions, and all the stuff has to be done in the second layer. So connecting the data source, bringing in the data, and preparing the data as the second layer. And then you get into a concept called unified business analytics, where you're taking the data from different data sources, you blend the data, and then on top of it, you should be able to build an end-to-end comprehensive dashboard, which is more or less like a cockpit for a pilot. So with that, you can run your business, right? And then we talk about the data democratization, which is nothing but where you let all your employees or all your vendors, partners, and so on, allow them to utilize this analytics capabilities for effective task management, or to run the business. Of course, at the end of the day, you can deliver some tools to them. You can deliver some capabilities to any person in your organization, where they can use the analytics to make some decisions and move forward in their business model. So that's something what we call it as a data democratization. And finally, the fostering collaboration. So the fostering collaboration is once again coming back to from the administrator perspective. You provide access to different users with different fine-grained access controls, or publishing the report, or allowing the end users to consume the report, contextually, wherever they access it. It might be an embedded content, or it might be in published content, and or somebody prefer to receive the reports in email every Monday or something. So have a strong collaboration layer in place, which will allow you to address the different audience requirement and let them to consume the analytics for an effective business model, right? So these are all the different stages that you will be going through with an analytics. And this is what I'm going to touch base in the product demonstration as well. And those are all the capabilities that you will be typically looking for from a modern BI analytics platform, right? So with that, I will get into the Zoho Analytics product demonstration. So I'm going to keep some of the concept generic. I'm not going to talk about Zoho Analytics in specific. I'm going to keep some of the concept in generic. It can be applicable for any BI tool in the market, but of course, Zoho Analytics has its own advantages and capabilities and so on, which is completely made in India and so on. So that's something I'll touch base with then and there, right? So this is the, from here I'm going to start the product demonstration. But before that, a quick touch base or introduction to Zoho. Most of you are aware of it, but still a quick point I just want to convey there. The goal or the vision of Zoho is to deliver an operating system for business. I mean, a whole suite of product portfolio, which will allow you to take care of any given divisions in your business. So right from sales and marketing, collaboration, IT help desk, human resource, finance, low code, no code, customer service, And when it comes to the analytics, we have two different products in it. One is called Zoho Analytics. Other one is called Zoho Data Prep. So this is what we call it as BI suite in Zoho. And I just want to quickly touch base how exactly the product evolved in the market. The product is something that been here for a very long time. So I will quickly touch base that, and then I will get into the product demonstration. So the first and foremost, the product is started in 2009 as a self-service BI tool. All right. So when I say self-service BI tool, it allowed the customers to do some analytics on their own as a business users or maybe analyst and so on. And it was started in 2009, and right from the first year we got 100 customers, and then we moved into a next big release called Embedded BI, which is released on 2011, which is particularly focused on the independent software vendors, consulting companies who can leverage the analytics inside their solution or product offering. So that's the major update. And 2015, once again, a significant update where we start building the business connectors. We let a lot of business connectors in the product where it can connect products like Salesforce, Zoho CRM, Microsoft Dynamics, Facebook ads, Google ads, and so on. And of course, a lot of database connections as well. And 2018, one of the significant updates where we also launched the on-premise version. So remember, we started as a cloud-based product, nothing installable, everything runs over the cloud. We are one of the pioneer players in the cloud BI space at the time. But considering the market demand in the analytics industry by the government segment, I mean, the government-based customers or healthcare domain and so on, we also launched the on-premise version of the product. And also AI is being a part of all our offering in different places and so on. So that's what we did it in 2018. And finally, 2021, where we also launched capabilities like a self-service data management, marketplace, native business applications, custom connectors, and a lot more. This is something that we just launched in 2021. And currently our customer base is 13,000 plus customers across 150 plus countries and so on. So this is what we call it as BI and analytics platform. It has the comprehensive capability right from the self-service, embedded BI, data preparation, marketplace applications, and everything out there. All right, so from here, I'm going to switch into the product and showcase you the capabilities of the product. So this is the Zoho Analytics product I'm talking about. And of course, at the top, you have the option to import the data. Remember, the first stage I was mentioning is all about breaking the data silos. So your data might reside in different places. So for example, you may have data as a files and feeds, probably from your local drive, you need to pick that, different file formats, CSV, TSV, Excel, XML, or whatsoever. And of course, the feeds where you can just type in or paste the URL, something like this, and then invoke the data with different authentication type and authentication model out there. And of course, when it comes to the cloud storages, you have the option to import the data from the cloud drives like Google Drive, Zoho Docs, Dropbox, OneDrive, Amazon S3, and everything. And a lot of business application connectors. So for example, like Salesforce, Zoho CRM, Microsoft Dynamics, HubSpot. When it comes to the marketing, it might be like the Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, Bing ads, and a whole lot of business applications that we connect directly. And when it comes to connecting these business applications, it is not a complex integration that you need to go through. All you need to do is just go ahead and choose that business application and choose what modules and fields that you're trying to synchronize, and choose how frequently that you want to synchronize the data. And that's it. Within a couple of minutes, your integration will be ready. And on top of it, we offer a whole lot of pre-built analytics, meaning if you connect any CRM application, it might be Salesforce, it might be Zoho CRM or Microsoft Dynamics, we automatically understand what are all the reports that you typically access in the sales domain. And we create that, so you will get 100 plus reports by default. So that's one of our unique advantage. And the other important advantage for Zoho Analytics compared to the other BI vendors in the market is we automatically do the domain data modeling. So when I say the domain data modeling, we know that CRM can be connected with the bookkeeping system. And similarly, we know that a marketing application can be connected to a CRM application. So for example, the number of leads that you receive in a marketing application can be converted to deals and so on. So the relationship across these different domains is something that we can understand it because we offer the different products in different suite, right? So we understand the basic domain model. and we automatically connect the data sources across different business applications. And we also offer the pre-built analytics across different applications, right? So this is other aspect. And when it comes to the databases, you have the option to connect a wide range of databases. That's right from AWS services or Microsoft Azure services, Google Cloud SQL, Snowflake, any cloud databases that you prefer to connect, Zoho Analytics can allow you to connect. But this is what you need to keep in mind. Any BI tool you choose, it should have the capability of connecting a wide range of data sources. And of course, there are concepts called Live Connect, where you can, instead of importing the data into this analytics application, the application can do a live query to that source and fetch the data and provide analytics on top of it. So in case if you're concerned about the data privacy and so on, you're supposed to have this kind of a model in place to solve these requirements. So similarly, the local databases, any local database that comes up with the JDBC driver supported, Zoho Analytics can connect. But once again, I'm trying to iterate the points. Breaking the data silos is what I meant here. You should have the flexibility of connecting a wide range of data sources, bring everything in one place and consolidate the data. So that's one of the key requirements in a modern BI and analytics platform. So here I'm opening a workspace. Basically, let me tell you what is workspace. Just compare this with a drive in a Windows machine like C drive, D drive, and so on. Similarly, just to organize your data, we have multiple workspaces. So I have a workspace called FinePick 360 where I already have some data imported, reports created, and so on, in the interest of time, right? So I will just go through these points in detail in terms of what are all the different layers in terms of visualizations, augmented analytics capabilities, and everything. Once again, I will try to connect with the basic concept of modern BI analytics in each and every stage. All right. So first, we just gone through the breaking the data silos. The second one is, once you bring in the data, obviously your data will be stored in this analytics application in form of rows and columns like a spreadsheet interface. So this is how typically a data will be stored in any BI application. All right. And the advantage of Zoho Analytics is we automatically understand the domain data model. So we automatically model the data in terms of how these modules are connected with each other, how the data sources across, the data set across the different data sources connect with each other. So all those stuff can be done automatically in Zoho Analytics. But of course, when you're trying to bring in your own data from databases and so on, you should be able to do this on your own in terms of joining the data across different data sources and so on. So all your data comes inside the product and stored in the form of rows and columns. You have the ability to create the lookup relationship and so on. And in case if you have the, if your company has some database developers who can go ahead and write the SQL queries and make it more powerful, you can go ahead and write the SQL queries also on top of it. So we got the data in one place. Of course, as you see here, we got the data from multiple business applications, one from Salesforce business application, one from Zendesk business application, another one is called Zoho Sales IQ. We have some ERP data that comes from the databases like AWS and so on. And so this is how you should have the ability to bring in all the data in one place and consolidate it. So that's the first stage. The second stage is preparing the data, because you cannot expect that the data to be well normalized, very well prepared for the visualization or as a matter of any given purpose, right? So a modern BI analytics platform should have inbuilt data preparation capabilities. It should be a powerful data preparation capabilities where you can transform any layer of data in the way that you prefer to see. All right. So for that, of course, by default, we offer some formulas and functions where you can use a lot of functions to do the create the formulas and then write SQL queries to prepare your data. However, that's where in the BI suite, we have another product called data prep, because this is an extensive layer. Connecting the data sources, bringing in the data, preparing the data is something will consume 80% of your analytics lifecycle time, right? So 70 to 80% you will be spending in terms of connecting and preparing your data. So the data preparation layer is supposed to be very deep, all right? And also you should have the ability to create some data pipeline, which can bring in data from any source, prepare the data and push it into analytics, or even should be able to push it back to the same source for some other purpose. So for that, the product like Zoho Data Prep, which is also a product which is associated with Zoho Analytics, works closely. And in the interest of time, once again, I have a couple of data set available here just to demonstrate the capabilities of a self-service data preparation layer. So I have two different data sets here. One is called items, the other one is called item review. Let me open this items data set. So as soon as I open this item data set, by default, the system should automatically understand the data, overall data quality. It gives me some the summary of the data quality at the right-hand side. And also at the top, you have the column level information of the overall data quality here. And in order to prepare and cleanse your data, I mean, of course, you really don't need to write any coding out there. All you need to do is use some capabilities. For example, here we have a column called price, which has some inconsistency in the data. Obviously, the format of the data is something like USD, USDD, and US and dollar symbol and so on. To fix this, all I need to do is just go ahead and select the text. The system can automatically understand the pattern that I'm trying to fix this all different versions of format, the currency formatting. Similarly, I go ahead and choose something called USDD. Once again, the system can understand the pattern automatically and suggest me a whole lot of things at the right-hand side. Am I trying to extract this value? Am I trying to replace this value? And so on. So I'm trying to replace this value for obvious reasons. So I go ahead and click on edit, and I just type in dollar symbol and click on apply. Just within a couple of seconds, the different versions of the USD, USDD, and everything has been fixed into a same alignment. So this is one of the AI capability to understand the pattern that I'm trying to prepare, cleanse, and then it automatically suggests me some options out there. And similarly, the other option here is there is a column called brand. We have different values here. So if you see at the right-hand side, we have Samsung, we have Sony, and so on. But if I particularly go deep, I see that different versions of Samsung available. We have one Samsung, we have Samsung, spelling mistake, and all those stuff, right? So all I need to do is just right-click on it. I have a whole lot of preparation capabilities out there. And all I'm going to do is use a feature called cluster and merge. When I click this, it uses the Metaphon algorithm. Based on how phonetically the word sounds, it automatically group those words. So as you see here, the different versions of Samsung has been grouped automatically. And I just need to go ahead and fix it with something called Samsung, proper Samsung here. All right. So similarly, the different versions of StarTech and all the stuff is available. I just prefer to go with that, and I click on apply. All right. So once again, AI is implemented here. Obviously, based on how phonetically these words sounds, it automatically fixes the data. All right. So just want to show you another example. So I'm going to a different data set called item review, which is nothing but each and every product that we have, we will get review from the customer, right? It's a descriptive review, how you do it in Amazon or Flipkart, right? So similarly, you have a descriptive text here. And I prefer to see what is the sentiment associated with each and every product. For example, what percentage of positive review I have received for Samsung, or what percentage of positive review I have received for Sony, and so on. I right-click on it. I go ahead and use the features like sentiment analysis. And I'm just going to create a new column called sentiment. And I click on apply, and that's it. Once again, within a couple of clicks, we are able to generate the sentiment analysis. Basically, we are getting a result, something called whether the review is a positive review or a negative review, and so on. So I can go ahead and take the percentage of the sentiment, the positive review that I have received out of a particular brand, and so on. So these are all the capabilities. I'm just trying to showcase some of the important capabilities, but as a self-service BI tool with a powerful data preparation layer should have all these abilities and allow you to cleanse and prepare your data in minutes without spending a lot of time, right? So, and you just need to take a note here. I don't want to do this every time. Once I do this operation, it automatically created as a rule set. So whenever my new data comes into the system, it automatically cleanse and get, do the transformation or enrichment and get the result on top of it. In terms of transforming data, once again, a lot of features like removing the duplicate entries, combining multiple data set, whether to join those data set or append the data set and so on. So I can use these features like join two different data sets, because I have the sentiment details here in the other data set, and I have the actual brand name resides in another data set, right? So I have to keep it as a single data set. Only then I can use it for analytics easily. So I can perform any kind of join on top of it, and just click on join. It automatically understands the column which can be used to join these two data sets, and it gives me the option of joining these two data sets basically. So once again, everything is self-service. This is what I'm trying to explain here. A modern BI analytics should have a very strong data preparation capabilities, because you don't want to spend a lot of time out there. And it should be allowing you to build a data pipeline by creating this different rule set. And that's supposed to be executed automatically whenever the data comes in, and prepare the data, and that can be used for any purpose. It might be analytics, or for some reasons you're pushing this back to your same application, or you prefer to store it as a backup, kind of a backup in the cloud services like AWS or Azure or somewhere. You should be able to export the data to a different location. And also you might be using these data set for underlying application process. For example, your application might be doing some ML-based process where it needs the clean data to execute the algorithm. So you may configure these pipeline, which can be used in the ML layers as well. So that's how the data preparation layer works. So all those capabilities will be available inside Zoho Analytics as well, but I'm trying to explain that detail with the Zoho data prep separately. Most of these capabilities will be available inside the Zoho Analytics as a data preparation capability. So that's the second stage. We completed the first stage in terms of breaking the data silos, and then the second stage, which is purely like an augmented based data preparation and data management capabilities. So when I say the data management capabilities, I just want to mention this. After preparing the data, after cleansing and preparing the data into in your system, you should be able to manage it in terms of providing access to the different users with different permissions. So here we got a new data set, what we have prepared, which can be shared with different users with different roles, something like consumer, editor, and so on. All right. And of course, you should be able to create some tags, and based on the tags, you should be able to use it. You should be able to catalog it, mark it ready to use, and all the stuff should be available as a part of it. So this is how the visualizations, this is how the data has been prepared, and it'll be ready for the visualization layer, which is the next layer, where we talk about the unified business analytics. So as I said, unified business analytics is nothing but taking data from all these data sources, building a visualization using cross-functional analytics, and then you can keep it as a dashboard, like a cockpit view, and you can drive your business just by seeing the dashboard every day, right? So to do that, a typical analytics product will allow you to build any kind of visualization. So for example, here I have a base table called leads, where I have different leads collected. This is a sample data set. Now, in terms of building the visualization, I should be having the ability to create the report using some simple drag and drop interface. So for example, I just want to see how many leads I have created, my system created every month. So I click on go ahead and, I just go ahead and use the created time in the x-axis. I can choose the different granularity here. Let me keep it month and year. I can go ahead and use this leads. I just take the lead ID to take the count, which means the number of leads I have received every month. And I click on generate. It's supposed to generate the report automatically. I can go ahead and change the different types of visualizations based on my requirement, a whole different types of visualizations, obviously. Let's say I just want to make it more granular in a particular dimension. I'll be able to keep adding new dimensions on top of my data set, and I'll be able to create these reports on top of it. So it's a simple drag and drop interface with filtering capabilities. You'll be able to build the dashboards. You can create 40 plus visualizations with some simple drag and drop interface and so on. So similarly, the chart type, or it might be some other chart type like heat map and so on. So based on how visually that you prefer to understand your data, you can create those visualizations based on your requirement using the simple drag and drop interface. But this technique, in terms of using the simple drag and drop interface, is a bit dated. It was there in 2000s, but you need more advanced capability. So that's where the technologies like natural language querying and natural language processing comes into the place. So that particular feature, what we call it as Ask Zea. All right. So Ask Zea is basically Zoho's intelligence assistant, which can help you to convert a simple question into analytical answer. For example, here I have Ask Zea in place where I can ask the question like, show me the sales by items. So the system can understand that I'm trying to take sales for each and every items. It go ahead and correlate the columns I have in my base tables, and it'll try to build the report on top of it, something like this. Here I have the option to go ahead and change the different visualizations. I can go ahead and save it and use it and so on. The good thing is this is supported with the voice bot as well. So for example, here I can ask, get me the top 10. So the system can automatically understand my requirement and it'll try to build a report on top of the previous report. Now, if you notice this, this is a conversation analytics mode. All right, so it is not something like you can ask the question, it comes up again, and then you may again go ahead and ask the questions. I mean, you don't need to clear anything and so on. This is one of the conversation mode. For some reasons, it's taking some time, but I'll just let you know the feature here. It's a conversation mode, which automatically understand my previous question, and it helped me to bring data sets on top of it by processing the analytics appropriately, right? So I can keep asking the next question with different layers and so on. For some reasons, the screen sharing is a bit slow, which takes some time, but let's not waste time there. Let me switch to the next feature. So this is AI driven feature, which uses the technology like natural language generation and natural language processing. This feature is available in the mobile application, and it is also supported in multilingual like English and Spanish. And moving to the next feature, I was saying about pre-built analytics, right? So connecting different data sources, we are supposed to automatically build a lot of pre-built analytics on top of it in Zoho Analytics. So that will help the business users to kickstart the process and do the analysis very easily. So one example is this dashboard. For some reasons, it's a bit slow. Let me refresh this. So whenever you go ahead and connect the products like Salesforce or Dynamics or Zoho CRM whatsoever, the system can automatically create some pre-built analytics, which is handy and help you to kickstart the analytics process. Now you see this report, this dashboard will be automatically created when you connect the Salesforce. Similarly, if you connect any business apps, it might be Facebook, it might be Google Ads, whatsoever, it will automatically create those pre-built analytics on top of it. Now, a whole lot of visualizations here, but I just want to particularly focus on a couple of visualizations. One is the sales trend, and not just the simple sales trend, you have the forecasted sales trend also available as a part of it. So let me go ahead and edit this report and showcase you some of the capabilities in terms of forecasting, right? So forecasting is, of course, you have the option to specify your own algorithm and build a complex forecasting model. But what offers in Zoho Analytics is more into like, it automatically understands the best model to be forecasted and it'll use it. But however, if you want to specify some different forecasting techniques, something like ARIMA, ETS, STL, regression techniques, inside the ETS, different models comes into the play game based on your requirement. You can go ahead and choose it and define the forecasting, which is basically the predictive analytics. So just within a couple of clicks, you'll be able to enable the predictive analytics based on the sales trend or whatever the trend-based data that you have. The other important capabilities when it comes to the augmented analytics is something called Zea Insights. So Zea Insights is nothing but behind the scenes, once again, it uses the AI and ML. It uses the capabilities, the technology like natural language generation. So if you see this report, you can do your own analysis like what is the sales in different region. But when you click on Zea Insight, it automatically gives you some narration on top of this visualization. So instead of you go ahead and do the analysis, the system makes it more simple, where it can give you a set of descriptive analytics on top of it, which help you to reduce the effort in terms of analysis. So for example, here I can see what are all the four different states that contribute the sales consistently, what are all the 8 different states that has the steady percentage of sales, and so on. So a lot more information comes into the game when it comes to this NLG model, which is the Zea Insights capabilities in Zoho Analytics. And also the what if analysis is something very important. So what if analysis is, once again, as we listened in the first section or first session of the day, where you want to make some decision by putting some, by having some dynamic criteria or scenario out of it. For example, what you see here is a monthly sales trend report. I have the average profit percentage as 60 at the top. What if I increase my profit percentage to 90? What will be the deflection in the sales and forecast? What if I reduce my profit percentage to 50? So I have the option to have a dynamic criteria in my report, and based on that, I get the result out there. So that's the what if analysis capability. So these are all the advanced analytics capabilities. So whenever you build any kind of visualizations, you'll be able to use a whole lot of analytical capabilities, not just that, more deeper advanced analytics capability. You should be able to build different visualizations. And then finally, you put everything in one place, which is called the dashboard, right? So the dashboard should have, the best practices of building a dashboard is obviously you should have the KPI indicators at the top. These are all the key metrics that you will come and watch every day to see whether your business is running in track or not. The second thing is, obviously, you should have a descriptive analytics at the bottom with different types of visualizations, something like a trend chart with forecasting, funnel, bar chart, location-based analysis, word cloud analysis, key phrase extraction can be done on top of a descriptive word text or a descriptive text. And of course, the heat map and on all the stuff can become as a part of it. And remember, all these visualizations are absolutely dynamic. So when I say dynamic, if you see this report, whenever the data updated in the source, it's supposed to reflect automatically on a schedule basis at least. And the second option is, when you click on any data point, it will allow you to drill down and go ahead and do some interactive analytics on top of it. So for example, if I see this data, here I have the sales in different region. So I go ahead and click on California, and I see from which city I get more traffic or more sales or something. So I go ahead and drill down it further and see from which city I have more sales inside the California, or maybe some capabilities in and around it. You should be able to go ahead and view the underlying data. You should be able to do some dynamic filtering capabilities and so on top of it. So this is how the visualization layer works. And finally, I just want to touch base the last capability, which is data democratization, or data storytelling is also a part of it. So when it comes to the data democratization, you allow anybody to use these reporting objects in your organization. So as mentioned, the Zea can be used by anyone. So you can embed these reporting components inside your system and let them to use the analytics seamlessly. So that's the other concept. When it comes to the data storytelling, instead of building these visualizations, now trend is moving towards a dynamic data storytelling, like a slideshow with interactive visualization. So for example, in Zoho Analytics, we allow you to create something called advanced slideshow, where you can use one of our product capability called Zoho Show. Zoho Show is a slideshow presentation product which can be used inside Zoho Analytics to build an interactive visualization, something like this. So inside a slideshow, you can have a narrative with the text along with the dynamic visualization as a part of it, and deliver this to the end user for better understanding in your business data, right? So even the capabilities like Zea Insights can be used right from the visualization which is embedded, or the capabilities like Ask Zea can be used right inside the visualization, and so on. That's one aspect. The other aspect is also you should allow your users to easily consume the analytics. So that's where the features like portals will come into the play. A portal is nothing but kind of a microsite builder. So this is what you see here is, a portal basically, which has multiple pages at the top and so on, where all you need to do is have all these visualizations in one place and provide access to different users based on their requirements. So for example, somebody from East region supposed to see only the sales of East region, you apply some filter criteria, and when they come and access the sales, they will be able to see only the East region sales data and so on. And all those basic stuff, when coming back to the collaboration aspect, you should be able to go ahead and publish these reports, or you should be able to go ahead and Of course, email the report right from the system, collaborate with other users, the features like the commenting, and also you provide access to different users with different permissions like read access, write access, export access, and everything. Also, you should be able to create some alerts, which are supposed to understand the trend automatically. And if something that goes wrong, it's supposed to alert you either through the mobile applications or in different channels like Slack, Microsoft Teams, email systems, and so on. So this is how a modern BI analytics platform should look like. It should have extensive capability in terms of connecting a wide range of data sources, and that breaks the data silos, AI-driven data preparation capabilities and data management capabilities out there, and build the visualizations using the drag and drop or use the AI-driven features like Ask Zea. And for analysis, once again, when it comes to the forecasting, the predictive analytics in place, or Zea Insights, the capabilities like natural language generation, which ease the process of analysis. And obviously, you have the option to build the business dashboards, which are supposed to be interactive and dynamic. And then you collaborate with other users by sharing the visualization with different users with different fine-grained access control, delivering the insights to the end users using the data storytelling techniques. And of course, in terms of collaboration, you should be able to get or consume the report in any given medium that you prefer, right from email, right from third-party channels like Slack or Microsoft Teams, or might be publishing and embedding reports inside your application and whatsoever. So this is how a modern BI and analytics platform looks like. So with that, I just want to quickly summarize this. Whenever coming in terms of insights-driven business model, and technology is one of the crucial, very crucial component as a part of it. And that particular technology should have a lot of the latest features, whatever I have mentioned. These are all the key trends that been in the modern BI analytics um, uh, era, right? So right from the augmented analytics, the conversation techniques where you can interact with the system, automated insights like Zea Insights, which is summary, and unified data management and analytics, right from data preparation, providing access to the data with different users with different permissions, and also doing a deep analytics, advanced analytics on top of it. Data storytelling techniques where you can easily convey what exactly that you're trying to convey to the end user with different capabilities like slideshows or allowing the users to access it using the portals and so on. And finally, the embedded BI and actionable insights apps. So all these analytical capabilities are supposed to be embedded in any given applications or any given place where it can be easily consumed by any users in your organization. And finally, the KPI monitoring and all those stuff, which is where we are talking about the emailing the report or alerting and delivering some alerts to the end users with different fine-grained access controls and so on, right? So these are all the key trends that you're supposed to watch whenever come to a modern BI analytics platform in the market. So Zoho Analytics is one such product in the market, which has been in the market more than 13 years of time with all the capabilities with 13,000 customers across the globe. And of course, we competing with all the big vendors in the market like Power BI, which is from Microsoft, and of course from Tableau from Salesforce, and ClickView, and a lot more applications out there. So with that, I'm just going to end my presentation because a lot more information to consume in 1 hour, but I just want to keep it simple as much as I can. And a quick note from our partner that since our partner Venkatesh is one of the authorized Zoho Analytics consultant, so if you need any assistance with Zoho Analytics, you can contact them through these contact email address, and they are happy to help them as they have expertise. All right, so with that, I think we can get into the Q&A mode.
Thank you very much, Sailas. I think that was very comprehensive, and as you can see from the participant count, everybody is here. Everybody is very much here, and I think people were paying a lot of attention and listening in great detail to the entire suite. I personally found it very interesting. I have a bit of a digital background, and I found it very interesting that Zoho has grown into a company with such a large suite of products. So thank you very much for showing us the actual screens and for giving us quite a good overview of what a modern, as you said, a modern BI and analytics platform should be. We have some questions. The very first question from the audience seems to be specifically on HR analytics. The
Mhm.
question simply asks whether HR analytics is available. If you can, whatever 3 or 4 points you would like to say about HR analytics in particular and related areas around people analytics.
All right. So when it comes to HR analytics, of course, I mean, the Zoho Analytics product is more a common BI platform, which is domain agnostic. So it can be used by any departments. So it does have the capability of connecting the HR products, or you have the option to bring in data from different products used by the HR department. And once you bring in the data, so here we have the integration with Zoho People, Zoho Recruit, which is an ATS product, and so on, where you can, do all kind of analysis, right from the attendance-based analysis, or maybe your employee strength across different geographical locations, and some more deep analytics in terms of the year-over-year employee growth across different departments, the requirements raised by different departments, so on and so on. So it is a big topic to speak with, but the products like Zoho Analytics has these capabilities in terms of connecting any data sources. So once again, it's based on the requirement. We can discuss that for another hour of time, right? Yeah. I think you're on mute, sir. If you're.
I would thank you for that. It has to happen once in every meeting, right?
Every day.
I would request the audience, anybody who has a question, which may be about analytics or BI in general, or specifically about the Zoho suite, you can simply raise your hand and you can unmute and speak once we recognize that you have raised your hand. In the meantime, as some people might raise their hand, I have a question, Sailas, which is a bit of a, because you said that people are going to go for the IPL after this. Therefore, I'm going to use a googly. So my googly question is this: that having shown us the entire analytics suite, can you think for a moment and tell us what is the which is a particular use case or a feature which is deepest in terms of deep learning, or in terms of doing something which is predictive, or something that your company is particularly proud of, so that our audience also understands what is the cutting edge in terms of predictive, or in terms of, for example, cognitive analytics, or some areas like that which are not as common as the rest of BI has been.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to this, the cognitive analytics, once again, it's a very deep topic, right? When it comes to cognitive analytics, you do the key phrase extraction, you do the sentiment analytics. As I said, I mean, that's one of the capabilities I have showcased you. So the difference when it comes to Zoho Analytics and the Zoho data prep is, it is more often a self-service. All right. So even the products, which is Power BI and Tableau, has the data preparation layer, but still, Zoho Analytics, I mean, this is something that we just launched in July 2021. Just within a couple of clicks, you'll be able to extract the features like sentiment analytics or cluster and merge, which can execute the metaphor algorithm on top of the different words, how phonetically it sounds, and it can extract and group it and give you a precise output on top of it. Similarly, when it comes to the AI-driven capabilities, Ask Zea is something that it is a very powerful capability. One thing I just want to proudly mention here from the product team, as I represent the product on a whole, right? Tableau is one product, I mean, it's a known company which has more than 4,000 employees, and they have hundreds of employees to build the features like Ask Zea. Whereas in Zoho, we just had 15 members team to build the product like Ask Zea, which is a conversation analytics, which is very deep. And the good thing is, this is the only product which supports the extensive Spanish analytics for the entire LATAM region, basically. All right. So these are all the differentiation from Zoho end. But of course, as you use the features like Ask Zea, the Zea Insights, and the self-service data preparation, along with the prediction capabilities with different algorithms that you prefer to choose, everything can be done simply without any deep expertise. That's our difference. But of course, all these topics are more detailed when it comes to a discussion. So it has to be taken on a use case basis, basically. Yeah.
Thank you. We have a question from CG Prakash. If you can please unmute and ask your question.
Hi, Sailas. It was an excellent presentation. I was really interested in that Zea things, which you showed, the Zea Insights, and I was just a bit curious to know when you're saying it's interactive, whether it's a two-way thing, like when you ask a question, does it revert back asking, did you mean this, like this Alexa and things like that?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
that's one part of the question.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So was just keen to know that, because is it interactive and like asking us back whether you meant this or something like that, or it just throws out an answer?
Let me tell you how Zea works, how Ask Zea works in particular. All right.
Sure.
Here, the Ask Zea works in the scope of the data that we have in hand, which is nothing but whatever the data that you import into Zoho Analytics. It might be from a marketing application, or it might be from a database system or whatsoever. Basically, at the end of the day, based on the data model, based on the column headers that you have, the data type that you have, the join across these tables and data sets, altogether, we need this. Ask Zea will work within this limit. So it typically it does not come back and ask you the questions like, are you referring to this, and so on. But what it does, basically, when you type a question, it will try to correlate a column name that you have it in that data type. And then it automatically recognize and process it and give you the insights on top of it. But one thing that you can do in features like Ask Zea, as an administrator of an organization, you know what are all the typical terms that being used in your organization. So for example, some organization may call it as deals, some organization may call it as opportunities, and some organization may call it as potentials in CRM. So Ask Zea has the ability to train these languages and terms that you prefer to use within your company. And if you train in that way, and then you open up the Ask Zea to anybody in your organization in terms of data democratization, where they can come and ask the questions and get the insights immediately. So Ask Zea has that feature, but it keeps enhancing. Right now, we just introduced the conversation mode, which is also accessible in the mobile application. Now, down the line, as we move forward, we will make it more smart with some business dictionaries and so on.
Oh, wonderful. And just to check, this what-if analysis that you were speaking about, Sailas, it's built on some simulation, like a Monte Carlo simulation model or something like that?
All right. So it is more into like let me keep it in a technological perspective way, that as you see the what-if analysis, in simple terms, it will try to use a dynamic variable into your visualization. All right. The model is something that we built it on our own. All right. So just to give you a perspective, that whatever you see here, whatever the algorithm and everything, Zoho prefer to build on our own. All right.
Okay.
So although we have the open model in place, we try to refer certain things, go with the industry standards, but of course we build everything on our own.
Wonderful. And even this word dynamic that you use, Sailas, you're actually saying that the past is not a constant, but it's constantly evolving and changing. And the software understands that and moves on.
In the first version, what we have does not have the capability to ignore the past for the time being, but that's something in our to-do list. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
For sure.
Wonderful. There's another question. This is a question from Shyam Talwadekar. If you would like to unmute and ask your question.
Yes. We are familiar with the recent problem of semiconductor shortage, and because of which the whole auto industry all over the world is suffering. Is there any way by which predictively it could have been analyzed that 2 months or 3 months hence, semiconductor is going to be a shortage, so I should increase my stock levels to get an edge over the competitors?
Great question. All right. So for this, we need to feed the appropriate data into the system. All right. So in terms of feeding the appropriate data, whatever the supply that you're going to have, all right, and of course whatever the demand that of course we can do a demand prediction based on the trend. Everything is basically based on the trend that you have with the different algorithms in place. So as long as you feed in the data which captures the demand and the supply from your different vendors, then we can make a prediction using this combination. So it is
Right.
possible to an extent, but once again, it depends upon what data that you're going to bring in, what level of granularity and different dimensions that you have it in place.
Right. So can I say like this, that if I could, let us see my semiconductor supplier and his supply chain, if I could input the data going one step forward and input the data of his supply chain, so that going beyond the conventional metrics like his on-time delivery or his the required PPM quality, etc., conventional metrics, if I could go beyond that and capture the process metrics of his supply chain, then I can very well predict that this supplier is going to fail on this particular product, let's say semiconductor, and thereby I can increase my stock level. Can I go to this level?
Okay, yeah, once again, yeah, if you get such data, all right, and if you determine the supply that you're going to have, obviously we can determine the forecasting aspect as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So,
My pleasure.
So, Mr. Taladekar, if I can add to that a little bit,
Yes.
From a different, from an automotive background,
Sure.
really, is that the issue really here, and this is something that I have seen myself in some automotive OEMs. The issue here is not really about data analytics. With all due respect, it is about what is the quality of the strategic sourcing function, and therefore what is the the category strategy. The buying category or the purchase category for, say, semiconductors as a category of purchasing. What was the strategy book there in terms of how much of supply market analysis they did, and therefore were they aware that this is a variable which both macroeconomic and microeconomic needs to be tracked as part of our sourcing strategy. So I will respectfully submit that unless the data is there, I think Sailas is saying is that they are not able to recommend variables that are likely to change your business outcomes, and they are depending on your domain knowledge to recommend variables and to input the data. Am I right, Sailas?
Exactly, that is correct. So I mean,
I
as
agree
long
with
as
you.
as long as the BI tools is something that it's it facilitate you, it has those capabilities in place. But the more data, the more perspective or more dimensions that we have in place, obviously you can take the effective result on top of it, irrespective of the domain and use case, basically.
Yeah, in fact, I agree. And then, as Mr. Ranade said, the macro, micro economics related variables, if I can capture, that's what I said, going beyond the supply chain of my first tier supplier. If I could do this intelligently, I think I can use it. But is that capability with the Zoho? That's what I wanted to check.
Yeah,
So
I
that
mean,
capability is there, provided the architect inputs this data, macro, micro economics level data as well.
Yeah, I mean, of course, as long as we have, I mean, we need to have a look at the data model to answer that in specific, but as far as the information that you explained, it is possible. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you both, Mr. Ranade, as well as you.
My pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you. I don't see any other hands up. I want to acknowledge a comment by Mr. Madan, who has had glowing praise for the entire conclave. And I don't know whether it is an intended pun, but he has thanked all of us for the deep learning. So I thought I should mention that. And with that, I think, because I don't see any direct questions, I will hand it back to Professor Lagate for her closing remarks and comments. There is some noise. Can we have everybody on mute except Professor Lagate, please?
So thank you, Sailas, and it was really interesting to see the Zoho Analytics demonstration. My question is simple, that if a small firm which wants to adopt this analytics, how much time preparation will be required, because the data needs to be in order, then only we will be able to make it. So how do you estimate that the time required? And another question is, I don't want to go into the details, but the traditional analytical tools that the statistics was using, like correlation and regression, are they still being used in the this analytics tool package that you have created at backend? Because at the management schools, we are still talking about correlation, regression, and other techniques of testing and predictive and forecasting techniques. So your comments on this?
Yes, sure. So to answer your first question, the parameter or the parameter that what we call it as time to insight, all right? So the time taken right from data ingestion to extract the insights, actionable insights on top of it. With these modern BI in platform, particularly in Zoho Analytics, because the reason I'm emphasizing this is globally, when we present the product to a lot of analyst firms, top analyst firms, they acknowledged that Zoho Analytics is considered as a easy to use product compared to other products. So considering that in place, obviously time to insight would take at least just a couple of days to a week of time for a small medium business, as long as they have the required data in place, in terms of transformation, preparation, enrichment. All those capabilities will be available in Zoho Analytics with very few clicks. All right. In terms of implementation, once again, if they don't have any expertise in the analytics domain, then they can go through the help documentations and things like that, or they can use the partners like Tattvamasi. So they can help them to implement the product very easily. But in terms of time to insight at any given phase, it typically take a week of time at the max to see what they are looking for at the end of. That's the ultimate goal, right? So that answers your first question. And when it comes to the second question, yes, still, I mean, those are all the basics concept, right? The regression technique, the correlation models, and so on, which is used, which is basic, and it's going to be continued in analytics domain forever. The only difference here is, as we move forward, the augmented analytical layer comes into the place, which makes those complex process easy. All right, because system has the ability to apply the machine learning. It can go ahead and understand what type of data that coming into the system, how exactly this big data looks like, how irrespective of number of data set and the number of records, the millions of records that you comes in, because considering this latest cloud native architecture, even Zoho Analytics, one of the largest customers, using more than 2 billion records in one account with 350 million tables in one records in one table. So processing such volume of data, the system can go ahead and understand the data that comes in and the model and the relation across these data set and so on. And it has the ability to suggest few things on top of it with the auto analysis feature. So that's the game that's playing on top of it, but the basic resides the same. And as long as these modern BI platforms in place, it will get deep with different algorithm techniques in place and so on. However, the basic will always resides the same. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Last few months, we at JBIMS are also helping the students through your product. And Tattvamasi, Venkatesh Iyengar is sensitizing our students for almost 40 hours for the data analytics as a workshop. And I'm sure that these sensitization of the students toward this very new technology that is coming up and which will be very useful in their careers, not only for the corporates, but if they are starting their own, right from the beginning, they will be able to make use of it. I thank Venkatesh Iyengar for making this possible to reach out to Zoho, and also to the Professor Chandrasekhar. Our Conclave is based on data analytics, which Bombay Management Association tried for the first time this time. And I'm sure the interest of the audience, the interest of the corporates and students and academicians in data analytics is going to increase. And I'm sure that this demonstration of Zoho has given us a basic understanding that how it will work. The way you have explained, Sailas, is simple and use like Excel sheet, and the reports or the visualization is coming up very fast, and that was very and that was very happy. I was very happy to see all those things. I am going to ask Venkatesh Iyengar to give his last comments, and then we will talk about the next session of Bombay Management Association. So Venkatesh, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Ma'am. Thank you, all of you. It has been really enlightening, and I'm really fortunate that I could get Mr. Sailas for a good 2 hours, because he's been exceptionally tied up with the launch globally. And I remember those discussions having with him, at different times of zones. So thank you, Mr. Sailas. Really, really a great honor to listen to you again, over and again, and always it's exciting. And definitely one of the other things, very importantly, and we try to do some kind of small, what do you say, a dashboard, which speaks about how this event and the registration happened. And I thought, maybe that could be a good practical outcome for everybody to see in a 2-minute. And if I may, I with your permission, ma'am, I'll just show the dashboard for Bombay Management Associations for this event, and it's the data for a small cut, but it will give us what is the opportunity BMA can do, and that is what I wanted to share this. So with your permission, ma'am.
Okay, before you start sharing, you can share it. I would like to request all the participants to keep their videos on for some time, so that we can get a memory of this particular event, and you will receive smiling moments of Bombay Management Association data analytics conclave through our WhatsApp groups and also on our website. So please keep your videos on for some time, so that the Secretariat members can create the smiling moments for data analytics conclave, which is sponsored by Zoho Analytics, and we'll be very happy to have these memories for our records also.
Okay.
Yeah, Venkatesh, please go ahead and show us the registration analytics.
Very interesting. It's just a dipstick, because I had some. Is everybody able to see the screen? Okay. Yeah. So one of the most interesting things what Sailas has spoken was, see, first thing as a BMA, we want to know how many people register. So this data is a cut data. This is not a large data. I think the last what me spoke about was around 350 or 400 something. So one of the interesting things for BMA, there is a very interesting possibility of BMA to have more members, because out of the people here, 302, 245 are no members, and they have come for the first time. I see a lot of traction, and we could possibly look at this as one of the activities for BMA to reach out to these people and possibly drive registrations. And I'm talking again, the disclaimer here is there is complete data privacy. We are not looking at the phone numbers. This is just the data which has got only 3-4 data points about profession, about the gender, and the place where they are coming from, the PIN code. If you see the next thing, and I would want to click on this particular data, no, and reset, no. And if you see, those people who are not members have come across the country. There are people from Tamil Nadu, people from Gujarat who have joined it. So there is a lot of possibility for BMA to drive BMA membership beyond Mumbai. And the other interesting thing, and I'm going to go here and see that if you see this data, and I'll probably do, okay, I'll just probably do select here totally. And very interesting, this data, which is this part where you say, of the total number of people who have been a part of this activity, we see a lot of students, we see a lot of working professionals, and there is a there's still a skewed gender, bifurcation, and there is a possibility for us to create a gender diversity or a gender equality over a period of time. And if you see the way the registrations have happened, I think the day when we put this particular activity on paper, the second and the third day was the highest number of registrations, that is on 20th and 21st. And then, so this is just a very small glimpse. And if you see this, what kind of professional people are there. And this is just what I wanted to share. This is as Sailas said, it doesn't even take a week. If I have right data, maybe we can have a discussion with BMA and create something more for a particular objective for visualizing and taking a decision. So that's point number one, which I wanted to emphasize. And the second thing is, if we have a right kind of data and we right kind of data to add it up, we can have a lot of things to do and a lot of decision making to do. And it could be across functions, across sectors, because data is agnostic of sectors. So, and that's what we do. And we've been doing this continuously. We as a company are very much affiliated. In fact, Dr. Kavita ma'am is also one of the persons who pioneered me to drive into doing my PhD. So I'm also a student there, and I look forward to do a lot of things in that area also. We teach in colleges, we teach to corporates also, and we do specialized conversations and training facilities on the entire data science as a practice, plus also Zoho Analytics, very curated. So you have those numbers. My sincere request is, before even getting into training, just subscribe to the trial 30 days account and explore for yourself, because it's so easy and it's so fast and so hands-on. And definitely rest things will matter later. So that's what I wanted to share. Thank you, ma'am, for your permission to just share a glimpse. And we know we can actually increase our membership by 245 people for sure. And that's something which I can definitely share it to the management. And that's like an interesting area of that's point number one. Point number two, thank you, Professor Chandrasekhar, and thank you, Uma ma'am, for your amazing conceptual thought process. And that EQ was something, EV is like a very, very new thing. And I was pretty excited to even speak about it. So I think it was overall a very beautiful time-restricted activity. My request would be, we should do this as a 2-day, 3-day workshop. And if people can join, we could probably extend that to a 2-day, 3-day workshop. And I could try call Sailas to do a actual hands-on. I'll probably try and catch up his time for some time for sure. So thank you again. Thank you all of you for joining. And thank you, ma'am, for giving me this opportunity to speak. Over to you, ma'am. Over to you, Shripad. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Venkatesh, for showing us the analytics for this particular episode of our Bombay Management Association's the MDP, which we have celebrated as a conclave on data analytics. And I'm sure that this analytics will help us. And the secretariat members have already posted in the chat box that if you would like to become the member of Bombay Management Association, please get in touch with us. I thank Professor Chandrasekhar for taking time out and share with us the interesting case or the research that he is doing. Thanks are due to Ms. Uma Venkatraman, who has also discussed the live projects that they have done for using the data analytics. And Zoho, our partner for the conclave, they have demonstrated the analytics tool that they have created, and over the whole world, the companies that are using, and they have shown us the simplest form of understanding the analytics and making the decisions better. I'm sure all the participants who are here today have understood the potential of such kind of analytics that one can have. And if you need any support and help, the Bombay Management Association is already available to you. You can write to us. We will pass it on to Touch Pharmacy as well as Zoho Analytics. Thank you very much all for attending this conclave. It's the first conclave that we did for data analytics, and I'm sure it must have interested many of you. And in future also, we will try and see how we can give the updates in data analytics, which is a very, very interesting and very upcoming and with high potential topic for not only for the educational institutions, but also for entrepreneurs who are working in that area. The next coming up in Bombay Management Association is a series which we have started for last 4 months, celebrating Indian managers who have made a difference. This month on 29th of September 2021 at 5 o'clock, we are going to showcase a personality which is very, very close to Bombay Management Association and many corporates and many entrepreneurs will also appreciate. Dr. P.N. Singh, who is well known for his work, and he was very, very approachable and all about his personality. We are going to talk about him on 29 in celebrating Indian managers who made a difference. Please log on to Bombay Management Association's YouTube channel. The previous three personalities, Dr. K.S. Basu, Prakash Tandon, and Sharu Rangnekar, are available for you to see the audio visual and the people near and dear ones who talked about these personalities. I'm sure all of you will join us on 29 to celebrate Dr. P.N. Singh. Thank you very much for being with us for this conclave, and hoping that you have a great evening after this, and you will be refreshed to join us on Wednesday at 5 o'clock for the Wednesday Wisdom webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sailas again. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Deepa ma'am, you'll have to end the meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Deepa?
Yes, madam, I'm doing.